And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another game day preview edition here of the Mouse Steel podcast. With, of course, yours truly, Charles Prodigy Richie. I know a lot of people were wondering what happened to me last weekend. Last week when the Steelers took on the Ravens on Wednesday in Heinz Field. I apologize for that. That's one of the priorities I was catching up on, but I just want to say glad to be back here and getting ready for the Week 13 matchup that is finally upon us right now. It is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Washington football team going in today in week number 13. As the Steelers will look to edge a little closer to clinching the AFC North, as well as clinching up a playoff berth today, believe it or not. And I'll explain how that could be done here in just a few seconds. The one of the scenarios that was written heading into Sunday's games by various sources, including the Sporting News. The Steelers would either need to win their game versus the Washington football team, or either have either of the Indianapolis Colts, Miami Dolphins, or Las Vegas Raiders lose one of their games. Since that did not happen, their playoff scenario remains on hold for the time being right now. And they are right now looking to take care of action right now. Browns won impressively against the Tennessee Titans, which I did not see coming. Almost blew, I want to say it was a 24-point lead in that game. They ended up winning that game by 6 points yesterday in Tennessee. The Browns are really getting hot right now. No more of the pushover Browns, as you can see right now, as evident by that football club, by Kevin Stefanski right there, and what he has been able to do. He's been pushing the right buttons, I think, if you ask me. And for this team, getting this team to really buy into one another and have confidence and rally around each other. So you look at today's contest right now, a lot of great stories right here. I mean, you look at a coach like Ron Rivera, who dealt with cellular cancer this year. And then, of course, you look at a guy like Alex Smith, who has a leg operated on quite a few number of times since hurting his leg 2 years ago, back in 2018, when he was the initial starter and quarterback, which was for the Redskins at the time, which is now the Washington football team. When you look back in his career right there, and ironically, when he did get his leg hurt, when it got broke, it was like about the same date as Joe Theismann's injury. I mean, back on that time when you look at it, and right there, I mean, so it was just really interesting what happened on that day. It was definitely surely a game to forget right there. Forget right there for Alex Smith, who, by the way, that day when he got it hurt, it was against the Houston Texans right there back on November 18th. And like I said, ironically, the same anniversary as when Joe Theismann had his hurt back in 1985. Lawrence Taylor and the New York Giants back on Monday Night Football game. That was in Washington in that game. And you had, I want to say, the guys who were doing the call for that game was Frank Gifford and O.J. Simpson on that call right there back against that Giants game. Yeah, so it was November 18th, 1985. And you see how much adversity this team has had to overcome. I mean, listen, this is a team who really is rallying around each other right now and trying to do a lot to support everyone. I mean, you have a coach like a guy like Ron Rivera right now, like I said, who's been around this league for a long time. He's been head coach since 2011, dating back to Carolina Panthers here. But when you look at a guy like Rivera too, when he's come over to this franchise, I mean, the all-around respect and like honor and pride that he brought with to the table here. I mean, when you look at, I mean, this guy who right now is in his 17th year as a head coach right here for this team here. I mean, you just look at everything that he's had to endure right here. I mean, you talk back to a simple thing right here for this franchise who's had a controversial name back in the summer when a lot of people were starting to threaten to pull out like forcing to change the name, or we're going to start dropping sponsors right there. I think Ron Rivera, along with Daniel Snyder right there, the owner of the Washington football team, I mean, finally just had to realize, you know what, it just wasn't good to keep doing business this way anymore. It was obviously a utterly disdained name for a lot of people for so long. But I mean, you look at it right here. I mean, with Ron Rivera, I mean, what he's been able to do here overall as a head coach here. I mean, take a look at everything that just the pride and honor he's brought. I mean, the only problem is if the Giants do win today versus the Steelers here. Uh, I mean, the Washington football team, if they happen to win this game today, they'll only be tied with the New York Giants right there, with the Giants, who, by the way, own the tiebreaker over the Washington football team in the NFC East division. They swept them in both their head-to-head matchups right now. So one would think that it's going to probably come down to either the Giants or the Washington football team. Probably the Giants, if it were a safe bet. I mean, each team is 3-2 in their division right now. And you look at the Washington football team's remaining schedule here, aside from the Steelers right now, coming out of this game. I mean, when you look at everything considered, they got to be on the road against San Francisco back on the 13th, which would be an interesting battle right there. Both teams fighting for playoff lives right now. 49ers, which, by the way, they'll be playing tonight here against the Buffalo Bills. They'll be hosting Buffalo in in Arizona, not Santa Clara, because due to state legislation right there, due to the coronavirus concerns, they're not allowing any sports activity or any events being held in front of their stadiums right now. So that's gonna be another interesting matchup right there. And you got two teams right there who's battling for their playoff lives. Niners got a chance to go at 6-6 right there, and then you got the Buffalo Bills right now, who's gonna be playing the Niners. I mean, going into this game with three losses in that, and you look at everything right there from that perspective here, and Buffalo Bills right now seem to just about on the verge of clinching their first AFC East title, but you still got the Miami Dolphins, who is right behind them right now. And the Buffalo Bills, looking at their full schedule right now, I mean, so far throughout the season, they already got a head-to-head victory over the Miami Dolphins here, and won't be facing them again until the final week of the season. But you got a team like the Bills right now, who's looking to clinch their first division since 1995. With last time that was done was Jim Kelly and Marv Levy were together, and so far for the moment here, they're unbeaten in their divisional play. So I mean, that game, I'm not sure like how much significance it will have on them, but you better believe for right now that if they were to lose this game, I mean they'll be playing a little bit more a chip on their shoulder, which would mean the Steelers would need to take care of business today, first and foremost against Washington. More so, not just because you're trying to clinch a playoff spot for the first time in 3 years, but also another thing is too, you're also trying to get a step closer to clinching your AFC North division, which was also, by the way, the last time 3 years ago. The majority of the times the Steelers have been in the playoffs, it has been courtesy by winning their division. And it's very rare that they get help trying to get in as a wild card. We've seen a lot of times before in the past where they would usually get some help if that were to happen. And you look at everything from that perspective there, and you look at all those teams right there in the past. It's been real interesting for this franchise, the story franchise, the Pittsburgh Steelers here, who, by the way, just do a lot. I mean, for this. So here's the deal we got to look at right here today, right now. We're going to see if the Steelers right now could avoid having the drop passes that they had versus the Ravens. I mean, that's going to be a real interesting key, in my opinion, because I really think when people look at this, when you look at a team who right now is 11-0, I mean, like they always said, the only thing that's perfect about them is their record. Like guys like Mike Tomlin and everyone else would echo in on this team. I mean, which is grandly true here, but at the same time too, I mean, listen, I mean, a lot of people already knew this would be a tight race going in. I mean, nothing was to be handed to them, and you really had to earn everything that you had. I mean, basically, I mean, going into this matchup here, and I really feel like you're feeling the pressure. I mean, everyone thought it was going to be the Ravens, which they could still make a surprise. They're out of division contention right now, but at the same time, too, when you look at a team like the Ravens here, by the way, when you look at everything that has been going on here with everything, I mean, basically, uh, for that. So the Steelers, they made the wild card 6 times of their 31 playoff appearances. They're looking to get their 32nd playoff appearance wrapped up today, by the way. And if the Steelers are able to wrap up their 32nd playoff berth for the years in the playoffs, they'll be tied with New York Giants for the time being for third most playoff appearances. Giants are looking to get their 33rd playoff appearance, while the Packers are looking to set the record for playoff appearances with 34. Once again, you guys can follow me on social media. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy Richey. For the Man of Steel podcast on Twitter is simply at Man of Steel CJR and at Man of Steel Nation on Instagram as we look at right now for this time being right now. If you guys ever want, just feel free to come by and check out the page. Feel free right now. A lot of things at stake. Let's get some other headlines going to this game right now, aside from that. So, like I said, Alex Smith right now, remember, I mean, this guy who's had his, I mean, look at everything. I mean, coming off. I mean, he had to wear an external fixation for nearly a year. He was placed on the team's physically unable to perform list last season, and it was like so intense right there. And when you look at all like the surgeries right here too, I mean, right now, Smith he developed a life-threatening disease. I think too, like his in his leg, which undergo 17 surgeries, including 8 debridements across 4 separate hospital stays over a period of 9 months. 17 surgeries. Just let that sink in for a second. I mean, versus a guy like Joe Theismann when he got his leg injury back in 1985, never heard from the guy again. I definitely do feel like Alex Smith right here. I mean, he is a walking miracle of God when you look at this guy. A great story. And I think, by the way, if you have comeback player of the year served up for the NFL awards the weekend of the Super Bowl, I think you have to kind of give it to Alex Smith. I mean, listen, you got a guy like Ben Roethlisberger who's coming back off a throwing elbow, but for this guy to even be alive, it almost cost him his life. How severe this injury was and all the surgeries he had to go through, and to still be able to resume training for football, and then given the opportunity too. Uh, and Ron Rivera has always left the door open for this guy, even throughout the offseason, for him to work his way back into the starting rotation. And here he is, Alex Smith. I mean, that guy deserves a well badge of respect here. You cannot deny what this guy has done here. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible for the former #1 overall pick out of Utah back in 2005. And you look back when he made his first career comeback since breaking that leg injury. His very first game back this year, starting wise, was back on November 15th against the Detroit Lions. And it was just incredible to watch. I mean, his second start. I mean, he's 2-1 as a starter this year, and also combined with coming off the bench. I mean, this guy for this season, yeah, alone. I mean, you look at everything. I mean, his touchdown to reception ratio is a little down, but that's okay. I mean, this guy. I mean, considering everything that he's went through, so far he's passed for 1,067 yards with 3 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And so far, right now, he has been sacked 15 times this season. So right now, but I mean, this guy is a miracle and what it's all about right now. And we'll see what this guy is able to do right here. I mean, with this Washington franchise. I mean, you have a lot of people. I mean, aside from all the controversies with this franchise, you got some pretty darn good characters on here that really mean a lot to like the mind, body, heart, and soul of a man and a person. And the scary thing is, those too, we're starting to see a lot more leg injuries more frequently these days. I mean, you look at guys like Dak Prescott, who recently hurt his leg, and there was one other guy I can't think of his name right now. But my only thing is right now for the league is what are you going to do to protect these players on injuries going forward here? So here's the bottom line too. So let's go ahead and get into the matchup right now with the Steelers and the Washington football team. Right now, Ben Roethlisberger, he has most of his career victories first round draft picks, the most victories of any. He's got 78 wins and 43 losses, winning about nearly 65% of his wins versus first round quarterbacks. That includes regular season and playoffs. The second most career victories is versus second rounders with 28 victories, 9 losses. Then you got 6 rounds, 19, 11, and 1. Undrafted free agents, 13 and 3. Then third round quarterbacks, 10 and 8. Seventh round, 9 and 2. Fourth round, 6 and 3. Fifth round, 4 and 0. And ninth, 1 0. So he's got the most victories right here, too, by the way. And also, as far as like versus number one overall picks, he's got the second most career victories versus Alex Smith. He has 5-1 lifetime versus Alex Smith. Remember the lone playoff appearance that they had versus each other was back in 2016 in the divisional round in Kansas City, which Steelers did go on to face the New England Patriots, only to come up shy going to Super Bowl 51 that contest, that game. But when you look at that game, I mean, that game was mostly scored by field goals. And I think they had like one touchdown late in that game, finally able to break through. But you look at everything in there. I mean, that was a team right there. I mean, that was rolling. I mean, that season, after being a game under 500 at one point, and nearly was almost in doubt they were going to resume getting back to the postseason. I mean, the division race, just mainly because of the Steelers and the Ravens. Not so much the Bengals. The Bengals were already starting to decline, but you can kind of make an argument for them in a way. But I mean, that was it right there, and that's where we look at. I mean, with this team here. So I really do feel like right now the Steelers, you don't want to get caught up slipping right here. And here's for like some of the notes going into this game. Steelers spokesman Bert Lawton said that Chris Boswell has been downgraded to doubtful for Monday's game versus Washington football team. And earlier in the week, according to Steelers reporter Missy Matthews, the Steelers they signed kicker Matthew Wright to the practice squad on Monday. So Matthew Wright, let's go ahead and get a look at him right now, who's coming into the situation, quite possibly kicking for Boswell. See how this guy is able to do right now. Matthew Wright, by the way, he's had no kicking experience, to my knowledge here, from what I could tell. But you gotta look at the things right now. I mean, with this team here, and see what is going to happen for the time being. And We'll see if we got anything. And right now, we just learned the inactives for Week 13 versus Washington football team. The Steelers will be without without 6 players. So Chris Boswell, he is being ruled out today. Matt Wright, we'll see what he has got today coming into this contest. Right now, going to be making his debut here for this game and see what he's able to do for this game going into it. Matthew Wright, by the way, just give a little bit more background on him, who's come from the University, let's see, UCF Knight School history right now. So University UCF right now. This guy has a career field goal percentage back in college uh, of 77.5%. And he is about 98.5% as far as extra point attempt percentage right now. So he has a career 210 for 213 as far as field goal kicks go. That's the information I got me for right now. And we'll see what this kid is able to do for today. So here are the 6 inactives for today's game. The Steelers will be without quarterback Joshua Dobbs, Chris Boswell, as you just heard. Then you also got starting cornerback going into this game too, who was on the injury report right now this week. As we looked at it, I'm talking about none other than right cornerback Steven Nelson. He's dealing with a knee injury. He was downgraded to doubtful, so he is ruled out for today's contest, along with defense tackle Carlos Davis, offense tackle Durham Gray, and tight end Kevin Radar. As for the rest of the Steelers' injury report going into this game, you also had question marks as far as like Ben Roethlisberger, who was dealing with a non-injury related, but then later in the week it got added to a knee injury. So he got marked with a knee injury, but he's good to go for today's game, so he will not be missing anything. So once again, the Steelers' inactives for today is quarterback Joshua Dobbs, kicker Chris Boswell, and then you got right cornerback Steven Nelson, defensive tackle Carlos Davis, offensive tackle Derwin Gray, and tight end Kevin Rader here as we look at. Now, as for the Washington football team, their inactives for today's game, they're going to be without wide receiver Robert Foster, safety Cole Luke, defensive end, who was also on the injury report. He's a backup. He was questionable with a knee injury. Ryan Anderson, he is not going to be playing today. Then you also got right now here too Jordan Kunzik, I want to say. I didn't get a chance to look up his name, so please excuse me. Inside linebacker. He is ruled out for today's game. And then wide receiver Jeff Badditt here. Take a look on these guys real quick. Right now, as we look at it and see what they're able to do for this contest for today's game as we look at here. So let's continue to look at that a little bit more further, take a look at that a little bit more closely here for today's contest. All right. Moving on from that, TJ Watt, as you know, with the injury of the Bud Dupree right there, who tore his ACL last week, he's out for season-ending surgery. Now, I'll be real interested right now because I would like to think that the Steelers may have a chance at probably re-signing Bud Dupree on a one-year prove-it deal. We'll see about that. But TJ Watt, as far as regards to Bud Dupree, I miss Bud already. It's been weird already with short week here. Just not having around, and more than anything, as a friend. He's always putting others in front of him, and it's contagious. He makes you want to be a better person and a better football player. So there you have it right there. Also, some other notes too. Ben Roethlisberger, career 5-1 versus Alex Smith, looking to get a sixth victory versus him today. Undefeated at home versus Alex Smith in that contest here. He hasn't lost a game to him yet. The only time he has lost a game to Alex Smith was back 9 years ago on Monday Night Football about this time in San Francisco versus the 49ers. But I gotta tell you though, I mean, right now, a lot of people when we're looking at this football team with the Steelers, I mean, right now, I mean, trying to see the playmaking ability that Bud Dupree has brought to this team here. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, I've been talking with, I mean, definitely feel like he's kind of like the equivalent of losing Ryan Shazier a few years ago. And I mean, you look at everything that this guy's been able to do on here. I mean, going on, I think just what he does as far as like on quarterback hits right now, Bud Dupree has the third most. I mean, behind TJ Watt, but still, I mean, look, everything combined that he's been playing for. I mean, it's just a sad reminder what guys do if you get hurt and you're playing on that franchise tag. I mean, I pretty much feel like you're a cold shoulder a little bit in a way, not having that guaranteed money, and that's all. There's just a lot of like funny things players do not like, and some of the restrictions on here. But let's go ahead and get right into it right now. Also, the Steelers playoff clinching scenarios, as far as I know, the way they could wrap up the AFC North, you pick up a win today, you maintain a 3-game lead over the Browns. If the Browns go on to lose next week, their next matchup is to the Baltimore Ravens right now. The Cleveland Browns, for the most part, in the AFC North, their divisional record is 2-2. They go 2-3, they're done. So the Steelers would wrap up the AFC North, will win today, and the Browns lost to the Ravens. Steelers will be AFC North division champions next weekend. Should the game doesn't get repostponed or anything, but for right now. So again, the wrap up the AFC North, Steelers win today, and the Browns lost to the Ravens next Sunday. Playoff berth. Steelers could handle that themselves today by winning today versus Washington football team. Other scenarios, if for some reason if that doesn't happen, you could have losses by ears of the Raiders to the Colts. Steelers' magic number over the Raiders is 1 game right now. And you look at them versus the Bears going to this game, they have 5-game lead on them. I mean, going into that, so they would just need either a win or a Raiders loss. Raiders beat the Jets on a miraculous last touchdown play by Derek Carr from his receiver. They stole that one from the Jets, who are still winless, by the way, for the season. And the Jets, they are 0-12. And then also, if the Colts lose to the Raiders, so the Steelers will clinch the AFC conference record over the Indianapolis Colts right now. And basically, just to give you a heads up, how those tie-breaking scenarios work right now, more specifically with the Indianapolis Colts, in case anyone is wondering right there, this is how that will work. Steelers are currently 8-0 right there. Today, obviously, is a non-conference game, but they lose that game, they will drop to 4-5. And the Steelers could only lose no more. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, 4 games, and the Steelers are 8-0 in the AFC, while the Colts are 4-4 at that point right now. So if the Colts lose to the Raiders, Steelers get in that way. So either way, you'd be in if they don't win today. So let's go ahead and get ready to our keys to the game. Key number 1 for today's game: Steelers defensive line versus the Washington's offensive line. Washington was 32nd and only allowing opposing defenses to stuff them at the line of scrimmage at 13.3%. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, on the other hand, too, I mean, when being stuffed to the line of scrimmage, right now, and this is according to Football Outsiders here, where I got that stat from. And basically, when you look at right here, Steelers have been stuffed about 17% of the time, which is the 20th most here. Or, I mean, at the end of the day, so I mean they're doing okay in that regard, but the Washington football team seems to do a lot more better for opening up for their running game. So that's gonna be key number one right there. Uh, and then, which also leads me to the Steelers are second on defense in stuff percentage right now. When you flip it on the opposite side of the coin, for that regard, and I want to say the Eagles are number one in that area for right now. So that's going to be key number one is the Steelers' defensive line versus Washington's offensive line. Washington football team rarely gets stuffed at the line of scrimmage, so that'd be very key for today's matchup. My key number two for today's matchup, containing stars, wide receiver Terry McLaurin and running back DJ McKissick, whom both are in the top 32 as far as yards after catch. McLaurin is within the top 8 at 426, and then you got McKissick at 332 yards, which is in the teens. I want to say 15 for 18th in that area. So containing both those guys would definitely be key right there. As you can see, especially with a guy like McKissick, who's real good at catching out of the backfield, 332 yards after the catch, while McLaurin for the wide receiver for this year has 426. Key number three, Steelers special teams. I think one of the guys who really kept this game a lot close, rarely making a mistake, but it's expected, I guess, when you have a rookie in there, you're going to go for your growing pains. Ray McLeod, he's going to be my third key for today's game. Because right now, the Steelers, they're third in punt returns for 235 yards, first in punt return average at 12.4. And when you look at the Washington football team, their defense on special against defending against the punt returns, they're 17th in that area. So definitely give up a lot of yards right there. They're usually giving up about 5.6 yards per return on punt returns. And then last but not least, be efficient in the red zone right now. The Steelers currently are 26 for 40 on the year at 65% versus Washington defense here going into this contest. I really feel like that's going to be some real interesting key for this team right here as we look at it and see how they're going to be able to do stuff. Because one of the guys, too, to be concerned with, too, is like Deontay Johnson. Yeah, he has the second most receiving yards behind Chase Claypool, but he also leads the team in drops. So, I mean, to help out the red zone, I mean, in that category, as far as in that scoring, I think you definitely got to be a lot more careful in that. So those are going to be my keys to the game right there. And I want to say thank you for those of you tuning into this edition here of the Mound of Steel podcast. Definitely catch me at Mondays and Wednesdays. We'll be looking to return back to 6:30 p.m. Central Time coming up in due time here. So, again, let's go ahead and get this win. Win this game, the Steelers will be in the playoffs, and then just Nia Brown's loss to the Ravens. They'll wrap up the AFC North next Sunday. And that doesn't, if they don't win today, your Colts or Raiders loss puts them in the playoffs regardless. So once again, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Prodigy, Mound of Steel Podcast on Twitter at Mound of Steel CGR, at Mound of Steel Nation on Instagram. As always, usual, don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I got it.
Hey, you blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.